what I would say was, it's not perfect, but at least I'm trying. And I meet with them, and because I'll tell you what, I don't know everything about the Latino community, nor do I know what's best, but I'm absolutely open-minded to, they do, and they know better than me. That's why I'm at least trying to meet with them and get educated, and who they pick to be on their committee is up to them.
And I would just like to add that the community is very anxious to see whatever future actions you take as a result of the Andy Lopez investigation to improve the quality of that relationship between your staff and the community.
As am I.
It's a pleasure to meet you and, interact with people we elect. Anyway, going back to the Andy Lopez thing, and my wife was going to be here, was really interested in this, was there were some reports in the Press Democrat that some of the witnesses have been harassed by sheriffs. So can you comment on that? Do you know anything about that?
I've seen the reports in the Press Democrat. I think some of that is what this lady was talking to. Some people have said.
Well, this would be earlier, but it's same topic.
Yeah,
basically.
mainly related, I believe, to the protests. I don't know if they're actually witnesses to the event. What I've heard is mainly related to the protests.
Well, I understand some people have been, sort of routinely pulled over and.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's come directly to the sheriff's office and said that. I've seen things in the media.
Yeah.
That encourage people, if you've got that. One of the things that, and we were doing this before the Andy Lopez thing, is that we're moving to personal, as many departments have done, law enforcement, is personal video recorders.
Yeah.
So that when we get these things where it's, this person said this and we said this, the lady mentioned YouTube, we're going to have our own YouTube. So hopefully, as much as we can share those to show people this is why this car was stopped.
Well, that would be fantastic.
I would agree with you. So that's why we're moving that way. And that was done well before this. I had already started instituting that and spending the money on that before this happened. Here? Okay.
Thanks again for being here tonight.
Thank you for being here.
Very welcome. Thank you. Quick question. Well, for our own chief here, cyclists going through red lights and stop signs, but that's not my question. My question is, and I'm a cyclist myself, it drives me nuts seeing people do it.
Okay.
The average education of a deputy and the amount of training done and then continued training. In my own profession, just continued 40 hours every 2 years. I'm curious about the continued education for a deputy and their average education.
That's a good question. I don't know the average education. I'd have to go back and find that out. I assume you mean average years of college, high school, whatever it is. I would have to go back and find that out. I have cards here, and I'd be happy to give you one. You either write down your name or information for me. I'll try. I don't even know if we capture that, but if the county captures that on its application process, I'd be happy to share that. As far as ongoing education, the training, I think the police academy now, just to get started, is about 700 hours. Then you come into a training program that is about 4 months where you're with somebody. After that, the mandatory from the state is 24 hours every 2 years for things like, the state tells us that that 24 hours, they tell us what we have to do is 16 of it. So for example, they'll tell us 8 hours on domestic violence and 8 hours on gangs, and then we get to pick 8 hours. Last year we picked racial profiling, and everyone at the sheriff's office went through racial profiling, including me, went through racial profiling training. So in addition to that, in addition to those 24 hours, it's required every quarter for people to go to training. I think, is that 2 hours?
Well, yes, 2 hours.
2 hours every quarter that we do on our own. So those are the basic answers to the question.
Good for you.
So I made a promise, and I'm going to wrap up here with asking, it's almost about 2 minutes away, and I promised the mayor to ask you these questions on a different topic. This is about enforcement of the smoking laws, or the no smoking laws. The county, the unincorporated area, actually has more progressive laws than does the city of Sonoma. But this individual has been concerned about enforcement. One, that state law prohibits smoking in cars with children, yet sees this happening in the valley all the time and wants to know if there's any effort at all to protect the kids and enforce that law. And the other question relates to the county now and no smoking outdoors in public areas, and that apparently is not being enforced well in the valley either. What can be done to improve enforcement? Brett, that's
I'm not totally about that, but I think when the county had adopted the ordinance, they had asked us about that, and we openly admitted that as far as, enforcing smoking stuff, when we have people here talking about marijuana in their neighborhoods and drugs in their neighborhoods, I'm not sure what the city's doing, but I don't know that we even get calls for people smoking. If deputies see that, I don't know how they're prioritizing that. I would hope when it comes to kids in cars, I know that, again, we said deputies don't primarily do traffic. I tell people I'm kind of proud that I have the same ticket book they gave me like 25 years ago. But one of my pet peeves though was kids having a car seat, right? Somebody's got a thing that we want to take care of kids, right? So I would definitely ask Brett to pass that on to the deputies, that if they see that, that we can try and focus on that.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, you know, the smoking laws in the city and the county, there's a lot of times kind of a patchwork of different things. There's prohibitions around playgrounds, there's prohibitions in multi-family dwelling units in the county. At the county level, the majority of that is the responsibility actually of the health department, and that's what's written in the municipal part of the county code. I met with them actually a couple of weeks ago, so I'm part of a countywide partnership, and we went over some of the concerns that they had, and really, we need to get a better message out to the community that they need to really call the health department for follow-up and investigation, and work with your landlord if you're in a multi-family dwelling unit. The city of Sonoma doesn't have that kind of ordinance. I think you may have read in the paper, it's a Chadwick County F from, I think, the American Heart Home Association. So people have already contacted me in the planning department about looking at maybe tightening up some of the smoking regulations in the city. And it will come down, as the sheriff said, really about enforcement priorities. There's only so many people who are out wearing a badge to do law enforcement, and so we really have to be careful about where we focus our time. And it's not that smoking isn't one, but as we said, there's people talking about gang-related crime, we're talking about theft, we're talking about domestic violence, so there's only so much we can do. So it's really important to kind of educate and empower the community to kind of police themselves on that.
Well, as I said, I said we wrap up the public question part at 7:45, and the sheriff has to leave the building by 8 o'clock. We wanted to have some time at the end with him for those of you who would like to come up and have your own conversation with him personally. And tonight, to watch tonight's video, go to sbtv.org, and it will be rebroadcast on YouTube, correct? Oh, KSBY. KSBY.org. We call it SBTV.